Asher. And Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
This is the Pipeman here on the Adventures Pipeman W4CY Radio, and I'm here with
Angel Tetta, Global Brand Ambassador for Angel's Envy.
Nice. And who else do we have here?
Owen Martin, Master Distiller for Angel's Envy.
Nice. So I got to say I'm really excited about this because I interviewed before the changeover several times here and later in life, and I know you got some really new and exciting things going on. So I think we need to spread that news right off the bat. So tell us what's happening.
Well, I will let Owen talk all about that, but I am super proud to. I think this is our 7-year partnership with Bourbon Beyond as the Beyond VIP sponsor. So what's cool for me is that every single year, somebody's going to bring the heat to this festival and taste some on new whiskey, and Owen's got not one, but 2 things in his pocket to taste.
Nice.
Yeah, and obviously I'll tell you all about the new liquids, but Angel's in charge of all the cocktail programming and the new cocktail she does with it. So we talk about innovation, and so often that is whatever new release is on the horizon. But I think Angel's just as involved with innovation on like the broader brand side and has probably a lot to speak to with that. But yeah, 2 new releases. What was that, 2 Fridays ago? So we're just about a week into them, and so far we've got really warm reception on both. But yeah, both a little bit different than what we have done in the past. So yeah, as you said, taking us in a slightly new direction, but I don't think like one that's inappropriate for us.
So tell me the differences and what these are about and how they differ. Because
sure.
I look at them as many laymen's would be, because I'm certainly not a bourbon connoisseur. I'm like, oh, it's the same bourbon.
You're not alone in that. But I think these ones, I've said it just a bit ago, I love a double release. Because as you just said, you took the words out of my mouth. How they differ, how do they compare, how do they contrast? And when you do a double release, not only can you talk about how much craftsmanship's been put into each individual liquid, but you get a whole other set of talking points of how they differ and what are the commonalities and what techniques did you use. And so for me, that's a really fun conversation and storytelling aspect to have around them. But yeah, like you said, one of them I would say is just a very classic bourbon. It's a unique grain bill, but in terms of its profile, I think it's just going to be a huge crowd pleaser. So we're calling it our 2-grain bourbon. So, unlike wheated bourbons or high rye bourbons, this has neither of those. It's 90% corn and it's 10% malt, and so that really high corn content, I don't think you really see it in any bourbons, right? And for us to be completely honest, it was a happy accident to have that much corn in it, but what's come out has been a really, really unique whiskey. So about 5 years, 10 months from the time it was distilled, and I think with that high amount of corn, people would expect maybe something overly sweet or like one-noted, and it's very much more, I think the most unique part of it's like how silky and velvety it is, but it's actually more like nutty, bready. My intern called it brioche, which I like because that's kind of, it covers those, but kind of elevates it a little bit. So I was like, all right, your internship, you've earned your internship, yeah.
And it sounds bougie.
Yeah.
Hey, if I can add a little bit of bougie, that's all right. Like,
right?
Obviously, I want to connect with anybody, whether they know a ton about bourbon or nothing. But when we have the opportunity, like, obviously caramel and vanilla are like hallmarks of bourbon. But if you want to dress that up with like a creme brulee, then hell yeah, right?
Right.
So anytime we can make it a little bougie, why wouldn't we?
You're talking my language now, because I like the corn thing. I love corn.
Yeah.
So that makes it for me.
Sure.
The creating a new, different taste that it's like
Yeah.
a taste opposed to just drinking something to get a buzz.
Well, and when I say it's a little bit outside of our wheelhouse to date, by that I mean this is the first time we've done a grain bill-based innovation. So obviously 15 years in, we've made our name on cask finishing. We'll continue to do so. But when I have opportunities to showcase other things, that especially when it's distillery only, that's really like my playground, right? I can do things a little bit outside our norm, test the ideas. If we get a super warm reception, then maybe we come back with a bigger batch next year. So that's all part of the fun that goes on in the background of these sort of releases as well.
So as the distiller, does that mean you had to taste a whole lot of wrong versions of this till you got to the good version?
I'm not going to call them wrong versions. Maybe just not, they weren't the perfect version, right?
Right.
So we had 84 barrels that had this specific grain bill. We tasted through every single one of them twice over and picked our 50 favorite, and that's what we made the batch out of.
Nice. And what do you want to add to this, Angel? I love that there's an angel in Angel's Envy.
Yes, sometimes you grow into your name.
I know, right?
Well, to add on that last point he made, over 50 samples. What's cool about Angel's Envy, it's really a collective. So they have an incredibly talented production team. They'll pull those samples, and then they bring in the sensory team to taste them as well. So every once in a while when a project like this is happening, we'll get these little solo cups with like tops on them and numbers, and you don't know what you're tasting or why, but do you like it? What would you do for different? What's better? I love that because we're still a small enough company and young enough to pivot and do those types of things where we talk directly to the consumers, we talk directly to production. Just as a brand, we're talking to everyone, and so we get to collect all of those things and then use the knowledge that they have to blend something that people really want. And that's why I think our releases always go off without a hitch.
I love the word pivot because I think that's the mistake many businesses make is the world changes, you have to evolve with it. People change, you have to evolve with that.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to pivot, you might not get anywhere.
I mean, Owen came around at the right time. You know, it's a real story that I tell too much, but it's that, you know, he challenged us to get outside of the box that we created about innovation with finishing. Like, finishing just doesn't mean a previously filled cask. Okay, it had wine in it. Those are great flavors. It had rum in it. Cool. But what does wood do? What does that barrel look like? And his experience, knowledge of finishing in his previous career really helped us innovate and push past that box that Kentucky straight bourbon loves to put itself in. Not to say it's not the best spirit in the world, because it is. But if you don't push that, where are you going to be in 10 years and 20 years and 50 years?
Yeah.
We've got to look at it from a global perspective and not box ourselves out of competition, because Japanese whiskey, Irish whiskey, Scotch is innovating all the time. We have to keep up with that competition to keep Kentucky bourbon relevant, because it should be. It's America's spirit.
And I think that's a big reason why you guys are growing, especially you go way back in time, bourbon was going downhill. And now it's going uphill, and I attribute to that way of thinking right there.
I think it's that, and I think, honestly, I got to give like a little bit of credit to my cohorts. I'm from a bartending background, and without all these bartenders coming out, making rye bucks, making bourbon cool again, bringing back the Manhattan, big props to Mad Men, because that was a huge thing for
Right.
Old Fashions. All of that culture kind of came together, and bartenders were behind it. We had a little bit of like that cool, slick, like Don Draper sort of vibe, and then master distillers and blenders truly creating delicious spirits you don't have to do anything to, but when you put them with well-crafted liqueurs and modifiers, all of a sudden you have a world-class cocktail when, you know, vodka soda was trending, which is fine, it's refreshing, but it doesn't quite have the complexity that we're looking for here around Kentucky and such. So it's been really nice.
I think vodka sodas are nasty.
Yo, we all need hydration. It's cool. No, I will never hate on a cocktail. That is a one-in-one, so it's a little bit different. But for me, I do think that bartenders had a lot to do with that push. Like the Strawberry Buck was huge. That came from a whiskey bar in San Francisco that really changed the game. And that was way back in like 2010, maybe 2006.
Wow.
And for here with Bourbon and Beyond, of course, we'll do an old fashioned, but for our Beyond VIPs, you know, we elevate the cocktails. We have a really cool espresso martini with our rye. We put a huge bubble foam on. We've got a cool peach smash with a little peach ring, and we're doing Seagull Radler on top of that. So we try to bring complexity and fun to the cocktails here, because it's not only about Kentucky, it's not only about showing off Louisville, but people are here from around the world. So we want to make sure that they have the best impression they can.
Absolutely. So how is the loyal Angels Envy customer loving the new everything that's going on now to evolve Angels Envy?
Well, I think it's reflected from my point of view, because I see a different side than ONC's. We are selling, it's bananas at the distillery. You know, they always want something they can't get anywhere else. This is a big part of the Distillery Series launch. We welcome over 200,000 guests through our doors at 500 East Main a year, and they want something they can bring back and share. And that's the biggest thing. It's not sitting on a shelf getting dusty. They want to open it, they want to share it, because we're tasting at the distillery, we're putting the education behind what the liquid is, and they want to share that with their friends and family. And all of that, the openness of what we're doing and the transparency, is due to Owen, because he brings us along the whole process. So I'll let you kind of speak to, like, people are reacting well to the liquid, because I think the more you know, the more you want to share it, and the more
Yeah.
you're proud of it, right?
Totally.
Sure. Yeah, and what, you've been around, how many? What anniversary did you just have? 13. So Angel's got the long perspective, right? She's been on since the early days.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm kind of the new guy in the room, right? I think I'm hitting 3 years next week. So yeah, I mean, I think my goal with these, beyond just having a conversation with them, is like, what do we want to use them for? It's like almost a tool. So it's like, I know we covered the 2 grain, but the one we paired it with is the peated cask, right? And so even though that's distillery only, my thought is maybe we can get that into travel retail from here, right? Like global travel retail, and put in Heathrow Airport, find the Scotch consumer and kind of pull them into the equation. And we can use finishing casks in any sense like that, right? Like a
Right.
Australian red wine barrel launched in Australia, that sort of thing, and be like very intentional behind not just how we shape the liquid, but then what we do with that. And I think that's part of the fun. And I think my goal also is, we had a pretty, we'll call it nimble lineup for a long time, right? Like we had our flagship that we've made all our name off of, a port finish bourbon. We've done a lot of riffs on that, single barrels, cask strengths. We did the rum finish rye not long after that. But I think part of the reason I got brought on board was to turbocharge the innovation aspect. And so, there's people that still don't love cask finishing. They're very purists. And I think there's less of them nowadays than certainly when we launched. And Angel lived that world. Lucky to come in late when cask finishing had already been more adopted by the industry. But there's still people that are kind of turned off by it. And for me, when I release a straight bourbon, it's to re-engage that consumer. Or if it's somebody who, likes Angel's Envy, but really just hadn't had a bottle or bought a bottle in a few years, it's to bring them back into the conversation. And so beyond the liquid, it's like, what's the application?
And for you, as the distiller, where did the ideas come from to create something new?
I don't know. It's dusty in here. You never know. It's a lot of clutter and cobwebs, but they come out of left field. But I guess my experience is a little bit different than most of the master distillers in Kentucky, where sometimes they were born into it, like in a generational aspect, or other people have come up through their quality departments or managing the distillery. And my path is from engineering to craft beer, from craft beer to moving to Scotland and getting my master's degree in distillation science.
Wow.
Scotland back to the U.S. and working for really small mom and pop craft distilleries, and then scaling from larger to larger distillery from there. And so I guess I would say I have more of a global whiskey thought process
too.
Yeah, exactly. So like some of the new things we've laid down are normal grain bill, but fermented with different ale yeast strains and champagne yeast strains. And so those won't see a bottle for probably like another 5 to 10 years. But fermentation from the beer days, I would say the only reason I have the job is because of my experience cask finishing whiskey and learning about that process, because that's been used in Scotland for decades and decades.
Right.
And so, but taking more of that approach to cask finishing and the applications there. So again, it's just varied, I guess. Whatever the product might be, it's kind of the thought process of what skill set have I developed that might apply to that, and then who are we trying to reach with that product.
Totally. And so for people that aren't here at Bourbon Beyond, or they may come to Louder in Life,
Yep.
what else can they do to check you guys out, to maybe go on a tour?
Yeah.
To any of that stuff?
Yeah, I'll pass that to Angel, but I would say it's intentional that we launch this around here, right? Like, so last weekend is a big event called Kentucky Bourbon Festival. So that is a very much super nerdy bourbon festival with a little bit of music. And then you got Bourbon Beyond, which is, it's clearly a music festival, but it's got a bit of bourbon there too.
Yeah.
So for us, when we launch our releases around them, that's really cool because we can hit different audiences with it. Obviously, it's distillery only, but when you have, like, as you mentioned, people coming from nationally or even globally to this event to Kentucky, it's not a hard push to them be like, hey, this cool thing that we just came out with, if you want to drive by our distillery on your way out of town, come grab it, right? That's an intentional timing with that. But as to all the other things we offer, I'll leave it to the pro here.
There you go.
Yes, what's great is that we were the first full production distillery downtown since Prohibition. So when you come, you not only see what Owen does, but you see kind of my side of things too, with the tasting, retail experience, cool pairings, and it's right downtown in Nulu. So if you haven't been in Louisville in a while, Nulu is revitalized, it's beautiful. We're always building like new hotels and new bars. So it's a really cool part of town to check out, but you can definitely come to the distillery. We have extended hours around these times. We're open till 8 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. And if you don't have time for a tour, you can pop upstairs, have a great cocktail, or you can taste all of the things of which we're selling in retail. And we have a few special pours we pull out just for September because it's National Bourbon Heritage Month. So we always have those on offer the whole month of September, which is really cool. Some people don't get down here, they don't have access to the library and things like that. So we save it for this one special time of year.
Cool. And how can they catch you on socials, on the web, and can they order stuff?
There's shipping that happens. It just depends on the state. That's above my pay grade. But you can go on angelsenvy.com and find out all about that. Follow us on socials at angelsenvy.com. No, there's no .com. It's just at angelsenvy. For Instagram. Right. Owen has a really amazing name on Instagram that is totally brand worthy, which is called Oven Mitten. I think there's an underscore. Yeah, Oven _Mitten.
Nice.
For whiskey and baby content, Margot's real cute, so that's definitely worth it. And then I have a short handle that's called Angel Sharing, Angel's Envy.
Nice.
All one word. It's just a run-on sentence.
I love that.
Yeah, it's great. And there'll be all kinds of stuff on there. But we do 500 Main. It's like an insiders club, so you can find out about releases, get special access if you want to join that. We have members from all over the world now. We launched this company in 2011 and went global in 2020, and now we're in 20 different countries all around the world. It's so cool to see an Angel's Envy bottle in Seoul, Korea. You know what I mean? So
that's wild, right?
Yeah, it's awesome. So from a long journey, and then it's really invigorating because every year there's something new, and it's been a really cool journey with Erwin so far.
I love it, and I love that you're here at Bourbon Beyond.
Hell yeah, where else would you be?
I know, right? It's the best place to be. And do you have any final things that you want to mention to listeners that we haven't covered already?
It might not be timely, but tomorrow at 4:40 Eastern Standard Time, the good people behind bourbon and all the regulations and promoting the Bourbon Trail, and who have been doing this since before Prohibition, they're trying to create the world's largest bourbon toast.
Wow.
Yeah, so
That's
tomorrow
pretty cool.
at 4:40 Eastern Standard Time, we're going to raise a toast of whatever you'd prefer. Of course, it's going to be Angel's Envy, to cheers, and hopefully we get in the Guinness Book of World Records. So we're going to find that out.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
It better happen, or else nobody can listen to my show anymore.
Oh, hey, all right.
Right?
That's good, yes.
Well, thanks a lot for being here, and thanks for being on the Adventures of Pipeman.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.